and welcome back to the chaos. My name is Taylor and I'm the Tempest Witch here on YouTube, and today, with it being the end of the harvest season, we're going to talk about letting your plants go to seed. Everyone loves harvest season. You go outside and your garden is in full bloom, everything is beautiful, and there's plants everywhere, there's food everywhere. People are leaving zucchinis on your porch or on your windshield because they have too many and they need to get rid of them. It's my favorite time of year. However, this is also the time of the life cycle where things begin to die. And if you would like there to be a resurgence of said plants next year, for some, you have to let your plants go to seed and seed the ground, or you have to collect them manually to use next year. So I'm going to talk about that. Personally, I didn't do a garden this year. Harvest season coincided too much with my wedding and then my honeymoon, and so when I would be doing all of the manual labor of like picking, preserving, stewing, canning, like all of the things that come with preserving food, the timelines just meshed in a way that wasn't compatible. So I went, okay, I'm just gonna grow flowers this year, things that don't take a lot of effort, and then I will have another garden next year and I'll be fine. Little sad, not gonna lie, that I don't have an abundance of things in my kitchen right now, but we'll survive. I figured I would explain the life cycle of things and then show you an example of how to do these things. You have a bud. That is how plants start. They have little seedlings, little saplings, tiny plants. Tiny plants grow into big plants. Big plants have flowers and nuts and fruits and blooms and great. Once we go through and we produce all of this harvest, all of these fruits and nuts and seeds, things begin to wane as the sun starts dipping lower into the sky, days become shorter, things don't get as much sun, they start to die off. Basil's usually the first thing to go because it likes bright, beautiful, long, sunny, warm days. Some things, like squash and pumpkins, take a lot longer to grow, but they are more hardy and will last longer into the harvest season. Tomatoes are very interesting because if you want them to grow the next year, you can take them and let them ferment on your counter, let them literally start to go bad on your counter, and then you take them and you dry them and then they're ready for next year. If you want something easy and you just want tomato plants everywhere, just take tomatoes, put them in your mouth, chew them a bunch, and then just spit them out. Like, it sounds really gross, but honestly, like, that works really well, because think of it. Plants that reseed themselves, or are supposed to every year, the fruits fall off of the plant, they hit the ground, they start to rot, and that goes into the soil, they go dormant, and then when spring comes and the snow melts away, it starts to get warm, and it's already damp, and things grow, and then you have plants again. Real easy cycle. So tomatoes, if you don't really care where they are and you're an agent of chaos and you don't really give a shit what happens, just take a bunch of tomatoes in your mouth and just start spitting them all over your yard. Your neighbors will probably think you're kind of weird, but if you're doing this, you're probably already a weirdo, so yay. As these plants drop their fruits, some of them you can pick the seeds out of and save them and then plant them wherever you want to in a controlled manner. With my flowers, I figured I would show you what to do, because it's not much. You have flowers. I specifically have black pansies. This would be the third generation of me collecting seeds, reseeding, and going. So because of that, some of the flowers are starting to go back to their normal genes, which are the purple and yellow pansies, because black pansies are a dark version of just the purple that is so dark it almost looks black. And because genes are the way they are and you can't just have a controlled specimen, and because it's been a couple generations, those dormant genes come back. So I pick and choose which ones I want, because selective breeding. You leave your plants outside, and then as the flowers die off, and there is no energy going back into that flower, because flowers take a bunch of energy. You deadhead the flowers. The energy that was going into that flower will then go into a bud. But not a normal bud, a seed pod. Takes a while, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, until it bursts open. And in there are a whole bunch of different seeds. And so what's supposed to happen is as it's open, the wind takes it and knocks it against other plants around it, and the seeds scatter, and that's how they distribute all of their seeds so that next year they can come back and start the cycle anew. And if you can catch it when it's open, those are the best times, but if you can get it as it's just opening, that'll work too. You don't want to get it when it's still very tight together and there is no seam ripping, because if they're too early, they haven't matured enough and they won't be viable. You bring it inside and you put it on the counter and you let it dry. Now, for seeds or really anything you're trying to dry, you want it to be in a place that has a good amount of airflow. You don't want to put it in a closet and shut the doors, and because there's a little bit of moisture in the seed pods and you don't want them to start getting funky. I wouldn't recommend using a dehydrator unless it has like a cool setting, just because sometimes things when they go to seed think that heat means that it's springtime already and then it'll start to propagate. It's a whole thing, but it's easier just to leave them on the counter for a day or two. Totally fine. I just used a plate. I've got flower blooms over here that are drying, and then little seed pods. And the little seed pods I just put on the plate, and they, over the time that they've been drying, because they get knocked around by themselves, the air currents and everything, they come off, and then you have just a bunch of seeds. This is a great idea. However, this thing is busted. Don't judge. I have a dog, he likes to chew things. But we got this one out. He was a puppy, don't mind it. So, it's a little wrecked. We're not gonna talk about it. But you get, I think these are supposed to be for the jewel painting things, but they work great for seeds, and they come with these cool little labels. And they're just stickers, and you put them on top. So like, I have cucumbers and red jalapenos. And if you get like my jalapenos, I have green jalapenos and red jalapenos because I had different color variations in the plant that I grew, so I separated them to have those different genes. Great. I grew a bunch of random like pollinator blends and then just used them all this year. And then I didn't collect any of them because a lot of them were an annual. They have one life cycle and then they're dead. Some, like pansies, have the seeding cycle, so just know that going into it that not everything will be able to be saved for the next year. But the ones that you can, this is a great way. And then you just have a whole bunch of seeds, and it makes it really easy instead of having those stupid packets that you have to tape shut or you have to put in separate bags so that there aren't seeds everywhere and then you don't know where they are. This is great. I will probably get another case for this at some point, but for now, it's fine. So at the end of all that, you have an organizer for your garden, and then the next year you look in it and you're like, all right, I want to plant this, 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 and this, and this. And then you look in your seed catalog and you're like, oh, I forgot. I collected a bunch of melons last year. Let's try growing those. So definitely look into individual plants, like does it need to be fermented? Does it need to be heated? Does it need to be put in the freezer? Like daffodils. Daffodil bulbs should go in the freezer, and then when you want to start using them, because they come back once it starts getting warm out, you keep them in the freezer, they stay dormant. There's bulb plants, it dies off and all of the energy goes into the roots, and then it comes back from the root ball. So, look into the plant anatomy. Plant blindness, plant anatomy is very important. Look into the things, figure out how to collect said seeds, and then do it all again next year. And every year, you will get better at it. Sidebar, all of the energy, like I said, above ground goes into the roots of a lot of plants. So if you're looking to collect plant medicine, doing it in fall, if you're looking for roots, is important because this is a great time. So like burdock root, all of that energy is going into the ground. This would be the time to pick all of that energy. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my rambling. Honestly, I really love doing this. I love collecting seeds. It brings me a lot of joy. I hope you enjoyed my ramblings. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one. Skål, my friends.